seeing Eric Dier move to Bayern Munich, and I kept thinking to myself, cool, I had that move when I went to Marseille, when that move that is unexpected, and you just suddenly think.
So how did that come about then?
Well, I was given a free transfer, and I was in America, and I was getting messages from lower league teams.
This is the World Cup?
In the World Cup 94, World Cup 94. And I had a number of inquiries from Blackpool to Notts County, and I still felt I had something to offer at the top level. Yeah. And from out of the blue, Dennis Roach, who was Glenn Hoddle's agent, Glenn had given me a free. And Glenn Hoddle's agent contacted me and said, I didn't know the facts of the story, but Marseille had been relegated. And said that there's an interest because they can't buy any players who are under an embargo. And I ended up going across to France in Paris, met Bernard Tapie, and negotiated a deal for a 2-year period, and ended up staying in France for 7 years. Nice. But I remember flying over Marignane Airport, which is the Marseille airport local, and flying in because you come out from the sea, you go out to the sea, and you come back into land, and you fly straight over the velodrome. And I remember to this day looking out the window and thinking, I'm playing my football there for the next 2 years. Yeah, a great feeling. Special. And Eric Dier's, a lot of people will say incredibly lucky, fortunate. Do you know what? So was I. I was fortunate. Make the most of it. And you might be able to prove a few people wrong. And, I listened to Jason Cundy midweek. He ended up winning 2 trophies this year, 2 big ones, the Bundesliga and the Champions League. It's not that unlikely, is it?
No, but in terms of, moving abroad, I presume you didn't speak much French beforehand.
No, zero.
So it's always a big move for anybody. I'm talking about in any walk of life. To move abroad to a country that you don't speak the language, that could be quite daunting for a lot of people.
Well, as we all know, Nat, everywhere you go in the world, people speak English. Yeah. There's always someone at the club. The first person I met was the physio. Perfect English. He was the physio for Henry Leconte, the tennis player. So his name was Jack Bailey. And straight away, perfect English to me. So I felt at home very quickly. And many players in the dressing room spoke English. Not to great levels, but some better than others,
but enough to communicate.
Absolutely, and they were really, friendly to me straight away. There was players that had won the Champions League that were in the dressing room still. Barthez was at the football club. He was only a young man at the time, and everyone embraced me come in, and I just thought I was given an absolute chance of a lifetime to go and play for an incredible football club, and I did the best I could.
I suppose it does help, though, with Eric Dier, knowing that Harry Kane is there and is a good friend of his. And just in terms of, if he was to have a really good second part of this season then in the colours of Bayern Munich, could he get into Gareth Southgate's England thoughts once again?
It's always a tough one to answer in that, because you fall down the pecking orders and sometimes managers make decisions on you. But if Bayern go really well and he happens to play in the team and they end up going really deep in the Champions League and he stands out, then of course Gareth might have him in his thinking because he's used him before. So there's not like there's no relationship there, and he's never playing for us again. So it's a door is slightly open, but I wouldn't say it's much more than that for Eric at the moment.
Would you say the same for Dier and Sancho, who, of course, now has gone out to Borussia Dortmund on loan?
No, I think that door's really shut at the moment for him. He's a really difficult one. I don't think Gareth would consider Jadon for a number of reasons. And look, he needed to play football. And I was looking at the details of what happened with him and Eric Ten Hag now, and I found it quite strange that, he on the 14th of September, he was told to go and train basically with the kids. Not the first team. Now, how did that come about? How did things get so bad that you and the manager, and obviously Jadon Sancho said he's not telling the truth. I have trained hard, and he felt very disrespected by a manager who told him something he didn't like to hear. Okay, but how do you not make that work? I think there's an onus on the manager to try really hard, and Eric Ten Hag might say he did. He worked really hard to try and get the best out of Jadon. But the player had obviously gone via social media, which is a terrible mistake, because the mistake is you go to the manager's office on a Monday morning. If you're not happy with what a manager said, knock on his door, have a face-to-face with him and tell him why you think he's wrong. And leave it there. Don't go to social media. Don't go via other avenues to you make your argument. And that's where I think it went really south quickly for Jadon.
Well, absolutely. How you can get to nearly 4 months, basically, of this stalemate.
Exactly. And you're a young man. You're 23 years old.
Well, exactly. And also, look, how many times have you said sorry to somebody? And you've probably not meant it, but you're just saying it to make peace, to try and get your career or whatever it is back on track. It does seem a bit balmy that he couldn't have just said one simple word. And by all reports, some of the senior pros at Manchester United were telling him to do so just because they knew what a talent Jadon Sancho could be. I know we've never really seen the best of him at Manchester United, but this is just a loan move going back to Borussia Dortmund, where he spent 4 years between 2017 and 2021. Can we see him going back into the Manchester United fold come next season?
Well, a new manager comes in, might have different ideas. I think Eric Ten Hag has made a call on him that get him out. Why does he end up going to Dortmund? Why are Man United paying such a big chunk of his wages? For me, it's a call of the manager. Get him out of the club while I'm here managing. I do not need a distraction. Now, that might be unfair because Jadon can't defend himself in this situation. So it's turned south so quickly that I can only see a change of management. And there are elements of, in the players' thinking of sometimes, I might outlast you. You might not be the manager. And maybe there's another, a bit of redemption for me further down the line. They're coming back to his football club.
Well, he is a £70 million asset, something like that?
73 million,
something
I think.
Like that,
73 million, yeah.
You imagine, like we always hear, the players do tend to outlast a manager, especially when you've got such a high price put on you. But when he was at Borussia Dortmund, we all know that was his breakthrough club, if you like. What was it? As I say, 4 years, 137 appearances, 50 goals scored, 64 assists as well. Interestingly, I was looking at the managerial situation at the club, and, you can say, well, can he really recapture that form? Bear in mind, may well be a different manager, etc., etc. Well, actually, he is going to be working with the manager that he finished his career with at Borussia Dortmund. That is Edin Terzic, who actually was the interim manager towards the end of Sancho's time at Borussia Dortmund. He moved upstairs, I think, into sort of a technical advisory role. But after Marco Rose's year-long stint at Borussia Dortmund, which came to an end, he has since resumed as the full-time manager. So in a way, he is linking up with someone that brought a little bit of success from him.
Yeah, and look, you're not a footballer for very long, are you, Nat? Football career is very short. If you're going from 17 to 33, 15 years, 16 years as a player, that's not a long time. Missing 6 months or a year, 5% of your career in such a short period of time, football moves on very quickly, and you can lose some of your assets, as in your condition that you're in, your mental state, which is obviously you can be affected because he's still a young man. It's a tricky one. Hopefully, this is now going to be a period of showing and a manager believing in him where he can get back to playing his best football. I mean, we'll be talking newspapers. There's a great article on Paul Pogba later. Yeah. We'll be talking about that in a newspaper review. And you're talking about a story of a downfall of a great player. And when you read it all, you feel like, cool, there is the backstory. And I'm sure there's a bit of a backstory to Jadon Sancho. Why? Remember, he was one of the 3 penalty takers as well with England. There was a lot of stick for, Saka, obviously Rashford and Jadon Sancho, that maybe people get affected differently now. Not everybody can take it on their shoulders. Some people, it can sit deep in them. So I'm giving the lad a bit of defence here.
Yeah, well, maybe this move back to Germany is the redemption story he's looking for. Yeah. As I say, having made a pretty successful time of it when he was first at Borussia Dortmund.